holy shit, Final Fantasy 16 is so goddamn cool. You got monsters, you got bigger monsters, you got super bigger monsters. This game is so freaking cool. Probably one of the most intense combat system I've ever played from an action RPG. You want to practice your move? Goddamn, you can practice your moves. You can't even pet the dog. But I'm not here to talk about this. This video is my tier list of all the Final Fantasy games that I've played. But first, before starting to discuss about which game I will put into my list, let's go and check out all the games that I will not be talking about, because those games I either didn't play or haven't played enough. So here they are. So that way, we can get that out of the way. Why did you talk about this game, man? Why? Because look, those games didn't play. So the first game I'll be talking about is Final Fantasy Tactic. Final Fantasy Tactic, I will put this game as a solid A tier. I'm a big fan of customization in RPGs and video games, and this one is probably on the top of its list. You have so many classes. The story is fantastic. The characters are well-rounded. The conflict is real, and the combat is so freaking amazing. Honestly, there's no game like this one. It's a solid A tier. Next up, I'm going to talk about Final Fantasy Tactic Advanced. I'm going to put this game as a solid A tier as well. I know the intro is a little bit childish, and for some it might be a little bit of a turnoff, but I would say, I can safely say that after you're past the intro, the game is brilliant. The world of Ivalice is a very rich world, and the gameplay is a net improvement over Tactic. It adds like a lot of like new rules and laws that the judges introduces to prevent you and to prevent you from using certain. And the judges are there to prevent you to use like certain items, certain spells, certain attacks, to basically like in a way to cripple you and to add a little bit more difficulty to the game. So even though you feel like overpowered, there's still a lot of challenges into trying to grind your characters, or just doing like certain like sub-stories or side content. So there's like always something new, always something exciting, and the story is great. It's brilliant. I genuinely recommend it. If you have like any means to play this game, I absolutely recommend it. Next up is going to be Final Fantasy XIII. Final Fantasy XIII, I'm going to put this as a solid B. It's a good B. Like, I don't know if it's like top B, but it's a good B. Because the story is really good. The story is really, really good. As long as you read the codex, though. Because if you don't read anything, whenever like you get new information that appears into your codex, it's kind of difficult to get tracked and understand what's going on in the game. But there's something about it that I really appreciated. The game is absolutely gorgeous. The fighting system is an auto battler, not my style of gameplay, especially when I play RPGs. But it served its purpose during the story. It kind of makes sense that it's an auto battler. The same reason that the game makes sense why everything is so linear and straight path, because it's part of the story. This is something that I genuinely appreciate about the game, is from the layouts of the levels to the combat system, everything is tailored to the story, which I really, really, really appreciated. I'm not a fan of auto battlers, but I'm gonna say that because of the reason why things are being the way that they are, I absolutely loved it. Final Fantasy X-2 is a C tier, because the thing is, they kept the same combat system, which made no sense for me, because I did not like the combat system. I did not like the combat system. The story is great, though. The story is great. I'm not gonna trash the story. This game is still beautiful, but the fact that it was the same freaking combat system took me out of it, and I could not finish this game, which is very sad, because I was looking forward to play it and live through this time travel, Days of Future Past shenanigans, and I was all in for it, but the gameplay was so dull and I did not like it. I had to stop playing. Next is Lightning Returns. probably one of the first action RPG-ish that Square put out in the main Final Fantasy timeline. I'm gonna put this as a B, and over 13. The combat is great. It's a net improvement over the rest of the game. You have lots of stances, you have a lot of costumes that gives you have a lot of outfits that gives you abilities. The game is gorgeous. I love the story. The side quests were fun. Well, for me, they were fun. Some of the characters that I did not like as much, I actually genuinely appreciated them in that game. I'm talking about Hope and Snow, by the way, for those who don't know. I know that Hope got a big makeover in 13 too, but like, you know, in 13 was like, please stop talking. And overall, I really enjoyed it. I think it's the strongest one out of the three, in my opinion, just because of the gameplay and what they were trying to achieve and accomplish with the game. Plus, I'm a big fan of Lightning. I think she's a great character and probably one of my favorite characters in the whole of Final Fantasy. Next one, we're going to talk about Final Fantasy XV. Final Fantasy XV is a great... I'm going to put this also as a B, over Lightning Returns. The combat system is good. I think it's a net improvement over certain Kingdom Hearts game. When it comes to action RPG, the story is interesting. The big boys band, I thought it was good to see like this big friendly camaraderie between the main protagonist. It felt real. At least it felt real for me. You know, the way that they interact with each other, I felt like, you know, it was like me and my friends. And I genuinely enjoyed it. I feel that this is a love letter to everything Final Fantasy, because it references everything from Final Fantasy I to Final Fantasy 15, even the Final Fantasy 11 and 14. And other Square Enix games. The dungeons are nice, the boss fights are fun. Probably one of the most impressive boss fights I've had. The DLCs were fun. Oh, and Sydney. Next up, we're going to talk about Final Fantasy Dissidia. Final Fantasy Dissidia, I'm going to put this as a good... I'm going to put this as a C as well. Not because it's bad or anything. I think it's probably one of the most unique game that bears the name of the Final Fantasy franchise. However, once I played it, I didn't want to replay it. Dissidia NT, which I'm going to put this as a D. Because as much as it's close to Dissidia Final Fantasy in terms of gameplay, I was bored so fast. Let's talk about Dissidia Opera Omnia. And that one, I'm going to put it as a... I'm going to put it as a C. Right here. I'm going to put this like over the original Dissidia. I played this game for several months. And I enjoyed it. It was a neat turn-based RPG that bears the Dissidia name. It's still like the good guys versus the bad guys. All your favorite characters come in. You have like updates every now and then with new additions to the game. Story was kind of interesting with little quirky jokes here and there. When it comes to mobile game, it was a game I genuinely enjoyed, and you know, I played daily for several months. So just to give you an idea, first of all, I'm gonna put this as a D as well, because Record Keeper. I'm gonna put this as a C tier, right? Bam. It's another mobile game that basically you are a record keeper and you go through, you basically relive all the key moments of previous Final Fantasy games. It was really cool to have this in your hands and be able to replay some of those older titles in a way. You know, you can recruit like pretty much like every major characters from the franchise, and then have them battle together through different stories from Final Fantasy 1 to 13. At least at the time of when I played it, that was like 1 to 13, and it was pretty cool. I played it for several months, and I had joy. I had a good time. Speaking of, there's another mobile game that's coming out, unrelated to the playlist, but like Ever Crisis. I'm genuinely excited for this. I want to play this game like the moment that it's out. I'm gonna play it. I'm genuinely excited for this. Anyway, so next up, I'm gonna say Final Fantasy 15: A New Empire. I'm gonna put this as a D, far D. Now let's go with Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII is a solid S tier. Final Fantasy VII is probably one of those games that set up all the new visual epics that Final Fantasy is known for. CGIs, interesting characters, great open world, all in 3D, man. Cool boss fights, weapons, Ultima weapons. You can have so many side stuff to do. This game has probably one of those summon animation that everyone are looking for every time you play a Final Fantasy game. That's the game where all of it comes from. Now let's talk about Dirge of Cerberus. Dirge of Cerberus, I'm gonna put this as a... I'm gonna put this as I don't know. I don't know. Maybe here? That one is difficult. Yeah, that one is difficult because the game is not bad. The game is not great either. The music is fun. The story is very interesting. I love Vincent Valentine. I'm a big sucker for Kate Sid as well, and Yuffie. I enjoyed myself playing it. I would say though the gameplay kind of gets old fast, but it was fun. And the infiltration missions, I genuinely enjoy those. It was nice to have like a genuine Final Fantasy VII follow-up, and also like get to know a little bit more of the side characters, those who are kind of like cast away into the sideline, mainly Kate Sid, Vincent, and Yuffie. Yeah, so, you know, you know what? I'm gonna put this game right... Like, it's good. It's a good game. It's a really good game. But it's not a game that I'm gonna go back to. So I'm gonna put this as a C. Because it's a really good game, but I don't want to replay it. Except, maybe Ever Crisis gonna make me want to play more of it. Who knows? Now, Crisis Core Reunion. I'm gonna put this game at a good A. It's a good A game. Yeah. I mean, the challenge fights were actually very challenging and a lot of fun. The story was neat. To learn more about Zack's past story, they've managed to make Aerith a lot more interesting to me. I didn't find her as interesting in the original Final Fantasy. I thought that she was mainly only there to move the plot forward. You know, the moment where she leaves the party, I thought that she served a purpose, so like I didn't really care whenever she left. But after playing Crisis Core Reunion, my opinion changed. It was nice to see her being something else than just like a bubbly, carefree plot device character. And the interaction that she has with Zack felt so genuine. It was also nice to see the backstory and some of the motivation that drives Sephiroth into what he is in Final Fantasy VII. Next up, I'm going to talk about Chocobo Dungeon. Chocobo Dungeon is a dungeon crawler. It was just fun to play. I'm going to put this as a C. I'm going to put this like right here. Final Fantasy XIV. Final Fantasy XIV, in my opinion, is a good A tier. I would put this as an S, but I'm not far enough in the game. I'm still in the Realm Reborn story. And from what I've played, it's probably one of the most interesting open world story any Final Fantasy and MMO. The story is so well written. Everything is great. It's a game I genuinely recommend. You know, I'm going to put this like here instead. Bam. I changed my dang. Bam. Strong A. Next up, I'm going to talk about Final Fantasy IV. Final Fantasy IV, I'm going to put this as a good B. It's the first game with the ATB system. It's the first game where you have some of the most interesting and well-rounded characters of all Final Fantasy. Well-builded lore into those games. It's probably one of the first game like this. And I genuinely enjoyed it. For the first Final Fantasy game, I'm going to put this as B. Mainly because of the versatility. Like I said, I'm a big fan of being able to customize your gameplay, and this game just gives you just that. I'm going to put Final Fantasy V, I would say, right. I'm a sucker for classes, and the fact that you can pretty much like interchange your gameplay like whenever you want-ish, it's great. But speaking of, there's a game that managed to do this even better than 5, and it's 10-2. I'm gonna put 10-2 here. Bam. Because the gameplay is probably one of the best old school Final Fantasy gameplay you'll ever play. Because after this one, they didn't really made a true turn-based RPG. I absolutely do not count 13 and 13-2 as a turn-based. It's an auto-battler. All right, let's just say the way that it is. It's an auto-battler. All right, but when it comes to turn-based RPG, 10-2 is the top of its game. You have multi-classes. You can change your class in between fights. You can change classes during your fights. You have like so much customization for every classes. You can even transform into a goddamn robot. The story is, in my opinion, one of the weakest of its genre, but the lore and the world building was great. This is the thing with 10. I feel that 10 in general, like 10, the first one and the second one, has probably one of the most interesting world in all of Final Fantasy, but with a cast of characters that so dumb. The gameplay is so much fun. I had so much fun playing the game that I played this game 3 times. I like Yuna. I like the revamp of Yuna. I like Pain. I like Riku. Those characters are awesome. But some of the dialogues, man, holy shit, are so... It's not for me. It was not for me. It was not for me, okay? It was not for me. But I had fun playing. Like, I like the quirkiness of it. I had fun playing the game, right? I had fun listening to those interactions, but sometimes instead of listening to them, I would rather hearing like JJ Fish. 10 is, I'm gonna put 10 at a, I'm gonna put 10 A. I'm gonna put 10 as an A. A? Deserve to be an A. I'm gonna put 10 here. Yeah, I'm gonna put 10 here. Because like the characters are very interesting. The combat system is a good departure towards from where it came from. I really love the combat system of Final Fantasy X. It's one of my favorite combat system of all of Final Fantasy, mainly because it's like a turn-based game with a lot of added strategy to it because of the time bar that you have on the side. And it makes the combat so much more interactive and fun for me. The music has probably some of the most iconic soundtrack of all of Final Fantasy. But sometimes when they talk, it's the same thing as 10. It's the same thing as 10-2. Sometimes when they talk, it hurts my heart and my brain. They have some of the cringiest dialogues I've ever heard in a video game. Sometimes they will say things that will put a smile onto your face. They will make your heart melt. They will make you think. It will make you feel things. And it's very heartfelt and genuine. And it's really, really well done. But sometimes they say the dumbest shit. Like this guy. Alright? This guy is evil. This guy is evil, all right? You look at him, you're just like, bad guy, all right? It doesn't matter. They all look like frail and stuff, but this guy, bad guy, all right? He talks like a bad guy. He schemes like a bad guy. He screams like a bad guy. Even Titus, who's not the brightest light bulb in the world, fucking knows that he's a bad guy. And everyone's like, I don't know. It's like if I'm playing Scooby-Doo, where you spend like 20 minutes watching the show knowing like, it's him. He's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. Oh, he was a janitor. We know. Next up is Final Fantasy VIII. Final Fantasy VIII. I'm gonna put Final Fantasy VIII at a good B. I think the combat of Final Fantasy VIII was unique. I thought the story was. I like the new future type of story that we're trying to go for. I like the whole school versus school, the time travel stuff, the sorceresses. I really love like the sorceresses and all the things that revolved around her. Even Mummy Idea. My God, this game was challenging enough for me to want to play the game like over and over again. I think I've played this game probably like 4 or 5 times, like to completion. And because I loved it so much. The reason why I'm putting this as a B, it's mainly because I feel that I don't want to go back to it like the other ones I would. There's one mini game in this game that I really genuinely enjoyed was the card game. The card game in Final Fantasy VIII was so much fun that I even played that game with friends at school. It's genuinely more fun than playing Magic. Now, Final Fantasy VI. I'm going to put Final Fantasy VI at a solid S. Final Fantasy VI is the first 100% total epic ever written in the Final Fantasy franchise that set the bar so high that no other Final Fantasy dared to go otherwise. Final Fantasy VII and upwards are all epics thanks to Final Fantasy VI. The writing is perfect. The villains, perfect. The main characters, perfect. Every character in your party even have an ending. They have side quests, they have sub-stories. Even the Yeti has depth in this game. Even the dog has depth. It's even the shinobi's dog has depth. This game is perfect. This game is perfect for its time. It's probably one of the best one. You want like all those materials from Final Fantasy VII? Bam! Final Fantasy VI had them before Final Fantasy VII, and well, Final Fantasy VII made it better, in my opinion, but that system came from there. Terra is probably one of the most interesting female character in all of Final Fantasy. Senes was a very good character to start the second act. Kefka is probably one of the most memorable villain of all of Final Fantasy. I absolutely adore this game. The reason why I put this game above Final Fantasy X and all the other ones, it's because as a package, this game is just flawless. I can safely say this game is probably one of the best Final Fantasy game ever put out. But who knows, maybe if they had cringy dialogues, maybe it would go down. Now, Final Fantasy IX. I'm going to put Final Fantasy IX also as an S, and I'm going to put this after 7. I'm going to put this on top. Because Final Fantasy IX came out at a time where they were switching to the PlayStation 2 era that got kickstarted by Final Fantasy X. Again, one of the best Final Fantasy game ever made. Final Fantasy IX, however, was a love letter from everything Final Fantasy from 1 to 9. It went back. It's the last Final Fantasy game that feels like old school Final Fantasy. and the soundtrack was just brilliant. The characters are just really, really well written. The conflict and the world building is fantastic. The side quests, there's so much stuff going on in the game. However, the card game was not as good as the one in 8. I'm gonna say the card game was better than 8, like a lot better than 8. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm gonna put this game here. Final Fantasy VII Remake is, in my opinion, the best Final Fantasy game ever. Period. The voice acting is perfect. You spend 40 hours in one of my favorite part of Final Fantasy VII. I love Midgard. I love everything related to Shinra, and the whole game is just about that. It's so freaking cool. The characters are fun. Of all of my playthroughs of Final Fantasy VII, it was my first time where I genuinely cared about Aerith. I thought that this game, they've managed to build her character so well that she didn't feel like just a plot device. She felt like a human. She felt like someone with depth and conflict, and you see what she's going for. You see what she's trying to do, and it's just fantastic. Combat system is probably one of the best of the series when it comes to action RPG. The challenges were fun. The story is just brilliantly written. I love what they are trying to do with the series, and I'm looking forward to Rebirth when it's gonna come out next year. The soundtrack and the remix of some of the classic songs of Final Fantasy VII are just gorgeous, brilliantly written. The game, the landscape, oh my god, this game is freaking beautiful. This game is beautiful, from the animations or cutscenes to all the locales that you can travel to. It's just fantastic. And for that reason, I put this as my favorite Final Fantasy game, period. Despite the fact that I would say that Final Fantasy X, 9, 7, and 6 are probably one of the top Final Fantasy games I've ever played, 7 Remake takes the cake and managed to go in places where not only I was managed to connect onto as a gamer, but also on a personal and emotional level. And that game was just amazing. It was just awesome. I will replay this game again and again and again. I do not mind at all. And plus, the Intergrade DLC is just fantastic. I'm gonna put Final Fantasy XII. If you want to see me do more tier list, just comment down below what kind of tier list would you like me to do. If you agree or disagree with what I said, please comment down. I would like to discuss a little bit, just be respectful. You know, we're all bound to our opinion. You can agree or you can disagree, but I'm always looking forward to know what is your favorite Final Fantasy and which one did you dislike? Or was I wrong to put certain titles there, or was I right? Did I say something that you agree with or you didn't agree with? Just comment down below. So yeah, thank you very much, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye! Final Fantasy XII is fucking trash!